Hello everybody and welcome back. Thanks for tuning into another episode here. My name is Dominic. I'm the host of the Android Factory. Last episode we went over, this sample CI. We got into our very first YAML file and we got into our GitHub workflows, up and running. We got our GitHub Actions kind of talked about. We understand how this file is structured and what it is doing. And today we're going to go ahead and build on top of it to actually do something a little bit more functional here, because at the moment we are just running echo hello world and a couple other echo commands as well. So we're not really doing anything. It was more so a proof of concept to explain how workflows work. And in today's episode, we're going to actually be able to run lint on our code base, which is an Android specific thing. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. If you are brand new, please consider subscribing, smash that like button to help me out, and let's just dive on in. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to lint our debug variant here. So we're going to go ahead and name this file here, name the workflow itself, lint debug. We're still going to leave the workflow dispatch as is because we're going to want to run this manually, but eventually we're going to update that in the future because this is going to couple very nicely with something like running tests. Instead of build here, let's just name this lint. Let's give it an actual name as well. So we're just going to say, I don't know, linting debug variant. We're going to go ahead and give it the Ubuntu latest to run on, and then the steps right here we are going to have to check out, and then we are going to remove these, but we are going to need to replace them with something a little bit more functional. And so without diving incredibly deep into our build process, because we are in Android, we need to have a Java environment set up. You may not really recognize it, but we do have certain pieces of information inside of the build.gradle file that do point to Java, or at least like a Java environment. There's a lot that the IDE, Android Studio, will do for you and have configured ahead of time so that some of that is obfuscated away from you. But because we are running CI, we are now running this stuff on Ubuntu latest, a random machine somewhere in the world that is not configured like your computer is. Right, so now we actually are going to have to configure, the machine the way we want, so that then we can run, certain things on there, Java-based things, Gradle for Android-specific things, and linting is unfortunately a Gradle command. So we are going to have to set up both Java and Gradle. But if you were watching in the last episode, we talked about part of the reason why GitHub Actions is so powerful is because of the marketplace that comes along with it. And so simply, the setup Java JDK action here is extremely popular, very, very, straightforward, a staple in basically all Android CI. And so we can actually just leverage this entire package that a group of folks have kind of put together for us, and we'll have Java set up on our machine. So there's a lot of documentation here that you can scroll through. I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste this information in because that's really kind of what we care for at the moment. But feel free to read through it at your own leisure. We're going to go ahead and add in this line of code, or this little snippet. So again, much like how checkout v3 is working, we are going to go ahead and run setup Java v3. And then here we'll see that there is some basically parameters that we need to put in place here. This script knows how to run properly. So we're gonna go ahead and leave it as our Tamarin. I think that is what is recommended. You can go ahead and just remove that because that's from the documentation. And our Java version here, just because our target here is 1.8, I'm also going to change this to be Java 8 as opposed to 17. Hopefully run into less issues. If we need to change it in the future, we will. Then you can see here from the documentation, then after that runs, you can actually run Java commands on this machine. We don't actually care to run this. This doesn't exist for us, so we're just going to go ahead and delete it and move on. But you kind of get the point, right? Now, after this step executes in this workflow file, we now have Java on that machine. Wonderful. For Android-specific things, we are also going to have to update or set up Gradle, So we can go back over here to our marketplace. Let's type in setup Gradle. Sorry about that, I just went and searched for Gradle instead. That seems to be better. And we can see here the Gradle build action as one of them. We have, where did it go? Verified creator, but who's the creator here? Where is it? If we look on the last one here, we can see by Gradle here, right? So this is actually, the community, the folks there managing Gradle actually built this for us, and we can just simply use it. And so again, you can read through all the documentation that you want and whatnot. And here we can actually see a handful of things happening. But once we get into our steps here, we will see the checkout. We will see that setup Java looking very, very similar to what we had before. And then we can see here that we have the setup Gradle, and then actually even the execute Gradle build. And this is a Gradle build command that we should all be familiar with, right, as Android devs. If you're not familiar, you can actually run these inside of the terminal inside of Android Studio, or you can also find them here inside of the little Gradle tab here. And let's just see, that one was build, right? So you can just go ahead and double click this, and that is the same as running Gradle W build. In our case here, we are going to look, I think it's under verification, yes. So we have lint, and then we have lint debug, lint release. Those map to our different build variants over here. Obviously, we are in debug. We don't have a release variant at the moment. So running lint debug will actually just go ahead and, like it says, run lint debug on our code base here. So we can go ahead and copy these pieces of information, these little setup files here. We can just go over here and we'll paste them in. And you know what, I think we should just go ahead and update this to be 17 as well. I went ahead and just updated to version 17 off screen because it just had me wondering, should we just do that instead? So if that breaks, we'll change it, but just go ahead and use the latest and greatest. And then here we're going to have our setup Gradle and the execute Gradle build. Instead of Gradle build, we're going to say, execute Gradle command. That doesn't like that character. Lint debug, right? And instead of build, we are just going to say lint debug, spelled properly. Perfect. So we're trying to run this one here. That is actually about it, right? So we've updated the name here. We've updated the name of the overall file, work as well. So let's just go ahead and commit this. Let's go ahead and change it to some legitimate commit message like, I don't know, updated. Well, actually, hold on. We need to update the name of this to be something different. Debug, right? Is basically what this is. We're going to go ahead and do that. And now we are just going to commit dated to Java 17, right? We're going to go ahead and commit and push this information. We're going to push that anyway, push it up. And we should see this information now inside of our GitHub repo. So if we go over here to the code, we can actually get into our workflows. We'll now see the job lint debug. All of that looks really, really good. Perfect. If we kick over to our Actions tab, we will see now the name of our file or our workflow. We can go ahead and run this workflow on our main branch, and let's see what happens. After you click, after you click run, it's actually requested to be picked up. There's going to be some runner that picks it up. You'll see that it's queued over here, and now it is in progress. It is running. You can even click into it. And you can even see some issues here. Let's see, what do we got here? Gradle W permission denied. Yep, okay. This kind of goes into the environment setup here. It is actually a pretty easy fix. It's just an annoying one. I didn't know if we needed it or not. So let's just go ahead and solve it. But as you can see here, during the execution of the command, we can see the environment here, right? Java home. That is not my Java home, right? That is somewhere else. A couple other pieces of information here that are just not on my machine. Again, because this is running on some other GitHub machine for us. Classic, Google search here because I forgot the exact command. It is very straightforward here. We're just going to copy that in. It's one of those things that once you get it in, you kind of never change it. So we're just going to need that. And yes, right. We'll see here that tab-based structure is required. So we can see that it is erroring until you actually get the tab syntax here all in line and all working properly. One of the more annoying things out of GitHub Actions and YAML files, but it is what it is. So anyway, we just have to go ahead and make our Gradle W executable here. We're just going to go ahead and change the permissions again, just because we are, where are we? We are on Ubuntu latest. So we're going to go ahead and push these changes. Obviously, we're going to have to run that this command here after Gradle has been set up and before we do anything. So that's why we kind of stuck it right in the middle there. Nothing too fancy though. If we bounce back over, we can go back to our lint debug. We can go ahead and run the workflow one more time. And this is going to happen often. The only annoying bit about, or one of the annoying bits about GitHub Actions is that you actually need to, in order to test things, you kind of have to get out of your code base. You have to go back into, GitHub Actions, run some things, wait for it to fail. And it's very annoying if it doesn't fail until 20 minutes later. And then you've just wasted 20 minutes, waiting for something to fail after you thought it was going to succeed. But now we can go ahead and see the command here, the lint debug is running. It is going to take its own time here. Looks like subsequent builds will be faster, but you can go ahead and watch the output here on this on these actual commands. Once it kind of gets up and running, you'll see this timer is running and all that good stuff. So you'll actually see, your script running, breathing, all that good stuff. We are slowly making, we're making a little bit more progress here. We're making some progress. You can actually see all of these tasks executing now. It does seem to be taking its sweet time. So I'll jump back if anything. Oh, there we go. We got a little bit more. I'll jump back if there's anything interesting. All right, and there we go. We've actually gone on to the post things, but we will actually see here app lint debug build successful in 3 minutes and 6 seconds. All of the tasks executed. Our build has completed, or our job has completed. We could see, the little summary here. 5 minutes ago, it took 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And then if you go ahead and click into the overall job itself, you can kind of see some different outcomes or different outputs and stuff like that. And that's because of the options or the steps that we've added in, the actions that we've added in, and the Gradle action here kind of output something for you to take a look at. Pretty interesting stuff. If you're interested in it, sure, sounds good. But that's basically it. We now have something that we can run whenever we want to actually lint our code base for us, right? And so this would be super helpful if you ended up pushing something to main, whatever the case is, and it actually broke for some reason. It just wasn't compiling, and for some reason you still pushed it. This lint would actually fail, and you would see that the workflow failed. You would see that, okay, wait, I need to actually fix something. We can get into, how we can actually leverage that automatically in the pull request process. We can even stop pull requests from going in if they fail lint or fail testing, all that good stuff. We're going to get into it. Hang with me here. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button to help me out. Catch you guys in the next one.